Hello, welcome back to the RC Pilot's Log. My name's Rob. Things have progressed significantly on my Balsa USA quarter scale Citabria Pro since my last video when I was completing half of the wing. As you can see now, I'm much further ahead and I wanted to show you and give you an update of where we're at. So the wing structure is complete, assembled and shaped, and it's a significant size. I'm really pleased with the scale of it. I like larger models and this is certainly a larger model. It's considerably taller than myself. I think we're over a 6-foot wingspan on this, and I just about fit it in the workshop. There's maybe an inch to go on the roof, so that's a good job because this would be difficult to manhandle around if it was any larger. I'm really pleased with the build of the wing. I feel like I've done a good job shaping the leading edge. We've got the dihedral in there, you can just about see it on camera if I can get the right angle. Just about catch the dihedral there. But there is a small forward sweep to the wing. I misaligned it very slightly, and it works out to be about 1/4 inch across the whole span. I don't think that's going to be a big problem, and from some research I've done, it shouldn't cause me any issues. In fact, it may help avoiding tip stalls, but again, I don't think it's going to be an issue in the flying characteristics of the model. I just need to be aware that when I mount the struts, there might be a bit of realignment that needs doing on there. But the way the model is assembled in the plans, you don't drill the struts for the cabane struts for the parasol wing until last, and you can align it all that way. So that's not going to be a problem. Again, I'm really pleased with the wing. The ailerons come out quite nicely, but the problem is trying to store everything in a smaller workshop. So yeah, left and right ailerons have come out very nicely, and they need to be ready to be hinged later on. So moving on to the fuselage, you can see I've made significant progress and it's really coming together now. We're probably getting towards the last few periods of effort to finish it. I've been working in smaller time chunks over the last month or so and during lockdown to just chip away at things. I've not been able to get prolonged periods to build, and I think if you could, it would go a lot quicker. But 15-20 minutes, half an hour, sometimes an hour here and there, chipping away at it every day makes good progress. The fuselage is, as I said, taking shape. It actually went together much quicker than the wings did. I think having done the wings, I had a bit of practice and the techniques were more familiar to me to keep going. I enjoyed shaping. It actually, you obviously use flat sections to build up, and then the curved turtle deck is thin ply, but I had to shape using templates of the formers, and actually that didn't take very long at all. There wasn't much material that needed to come off to round it over. The belly pan took me quite a while, and it's not perfect. This is made up using strips of 3/32 balsa over the formers and glued in place. It's a bit rough and I will need to use a bit of filler just to smooth it over, and there are some gaps where I couldn't quite get it all in the first attempt, but for a first attempt I am pleased. I think that's come out really nicely, and it screws on to the fuselage using the plans call for tapping the blocks of hardwood that are in there, but I actually used some nuts that I forget the name of them now, the nuts that pull into the wood, captive nuts into the wood, and some M2 bolts, Allen head bolts there. Landing gear is mounted very nice and strong, and I've got some 3.5 inch Dubro wheels and axles from Sussex Model Centre, my local hobby shop. These are air-filled, but they're not refillable, but they're low bounce air-filled treaded wheels, just the right size, and they will fit into the plastic wheel pads very nicely. The parasol, the cabane struts, are actually, I TIG welded them together. I tried, if you follow my Instagram, and a shout out to all those who do, we're approaching 6.5 or just past 6,500 followers on Instagram, so thank you so much for your support there. It's brilliant to have so many people interested in what what I get up to for fun. But you would have seen on Instagram that I had an attempt at wire wrapping and soldering these, and I failed. It could be I don't have a hot enough soldering iron, it could be that I didn't clean them well enough or whatever else, but it didn't work for me, and I was not confident enough that it would hold up. So I have a TIG welder. I used to run a car garage, do fabrication and things like that. So I'm familiar with TIG welding and what it takes to get a good weld. I didn't get a very clean weld on here, but it's plenty strong enough, and is actually lighter than wire wrapping. So that was just fuse weld together with the TIG torch. So hopefully that will be plenty strong enough. I guess the proof of that will be in the flight, which is going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to get this into the air. There's a significant task of covering it up ahead, I think. So the tail planes are all in place and looking nice and square, as well as this little fillet here to form the transition into the vertical stabilizer. I've done my best to align it. I believe it's aligned. I've done everything I can to get it square and level. You don't align to the wings on this, you align to a centre line down the fuselage. So I've gone from the trailing tips of the stabiliser to the centre line of the fuselage, and got it extremely close. I mean, it's less than, if there is a variance, it's less than 1 millimetre, and I can't measure it on the measuring devices I have. So I'm pleased with that. Fingers crossed, hopefully it flies nice and straight with very minimal trimming. The elevator has come together very nicely. It formed up very quickly on the plans, gluing it together. I've used a mix of a thick CA called Mitabond that has an activator as well, but that set gives you about 10 seconds working time. It doesn't wick in because it is a thick CA, but where I was able to, I used Gorilla wood glue, D3 wood glue, for all the main joints, and let it set up overnight. It's a very nice build up here. You block the trailing edge up about 30 seconds and build to that, and then you just sand it, taper it down by sanding there, and then obviously shape the tips and the leading edge to give a nice joint. I'm going to be using nylon hinges for each of the control surfaces. I need about 15 of those, and I actually need to order those to progress according to the plans in that order. So I'll go with Dubro for those, the good quality hinges. I did think about pin hinges, like robot style. I've never had much luck fitting those accurately, so I want to go with ones I know, and also with the Dubro hinge slotting kit will be very, very easy to hinge these control surfaces. I'm really impressed with the size. I love the bigger models. I think they look fantastic, and I've never flown a large scale model, certainly nothing as big as this. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully it flies as good as I hope it does. Again, the rudder is built up very, very similar to the elevator. Same style. Again, this probably took 10 minutes to cut and glue up. Very, very quick. And I've got some reasonable gaps. There's very few gaps. The fit is very nice and easy. And I guess the technique for doing that is cutting the pieces oversized and then just sanding them down to a really nice snug fit. And again, it's a tapered trailing edge on it, and you can see there that it's kind of, I've done my best to get it symmetrical, and I believe it is. Very difficult to see that on camera, but yeah. A quick shout out to FlySky. I use the FlySky Palladium PL18 radio. FlySky contacted me and said, did I need anything for any of my projects? And I said, yes, please. I need some more receivers. They've sent me a couple of the FlySky FTR10 AFDHS3 protocol receivers. These are really nice units. They're probably a little bit bigger than you would find on the likes of the newer Spectrum range and things like that, but they're fully featured telemetry and things like that. Really nice radio. I'll be using it in the Citabria, so I've got a new receiver ready for it. One of the next tasks is something I'm not looking forward to, and that's assembling the plastic parts, so the wheel pants and the engine cowling. I feel like it's going to be tricky. It will probably not be as bad as I think, but it's one of those tasks that if I do it wrong, I could potentially ruin these plastic parts, or they could just look a mess, and neither of those is going to be fun. But the wheel pants need to be done, and they'll fit around the 3.5-inch Dubro wheels that are already on the landing gear. And then the engine cowling, which is again a sizable piece here. It's going to really make the airframe look spectacular, I think. Comes in 2 halves. It's not pre-cut, so it's obviously to fit multiple engines and whatever setup you want to put in it, including electric. But it does. The plans do come with a template for cutting, so that will be very useful. And I'm going to have to do a fair bit of research about the best ways to mount this and cut. So again, if you follow my Instagram or you saw the previous videos, I might have mentioned that I've bought this MLD 28cc gas 2-stroke engine with the intention of using it on the Citabria. It's the right sort of size and power, but actually this is not the one I'm going to be using. This is a bit older, and instead I'm going to be using this, an NGH GT25. It's a 25cc gas 2-stroke putting out about 2.7 horsepower at 11,000 RPM. The motor weighs in at 840 grams without the ignition. I reached out to NGH, who together with justengines.co.uk sent me the engine, which will be a great match for the Citabria. Just Engines were extremely helpful, and I received the engine within 48 hours of asking. I'm not really a fan of unboxing videos, so I decided instead to film the process of getting it started, and I'll talk through the fuel system and power setup I'm planning to use. My little test bench setup uses a 14-ounce Dubro fuel tank, and I'm filling it with a 20:1 petrol oil mix specified for the break-in period. I was surprised to see the initial break-in time is only 1 hour in 4 15-minute runs, and with full braking completed after 4 to 6 hours, which can be done on the model in flight. The manual recommends using a 15x10 prop for braking, but I'm using a 16x8 master air screw, and I'll add an extra few brake-in sessions at idle to compensate. I'm using my Spectrum DX6i on this test rig, but I'll use the FlySky setup for the model. The RX and ignition unit are powered by a Matex Systems BEC Duo, which has 1 constant and 1 switchable output. I'm using the switchable output to power the Rexo ignition that comes with the engine. I've got this programmed onto the gear channel switch. With the system powered on, I've closed the choke and advanced the throttle to max. The idea here is to spin the engine until fuel is sucked into the carb and prime the engine. The manual suggests it only takes up to 5 flips of the prop to achieve this, but my experience here was much longer and using a starter. Eventually I could see fuel flowing through the transparent tube between the carb and engine and noticed a change in the sound, almost like it wanted to run. Next, the ignition was turned on and the throttle reduced to just a crank. With the choke still closed, the motor was spun until it sputtered. At this point the choke was opened and the throttle set. A few nervous attempts later, and the NGH GT25 fired into life. From this point, it started first time every time. After two 15-minute runs, I noticed a leak from the muffler, so I took it apart, cleaned it and reassembled it to try and get a better seal, which I was able to do. At this point, I've not touched any of the mixture screws, and this is just idling on factory settings. It's quite a pleasing noise, and it sounds like it's going to be a great little motor. So it's been 5 or 6 weeks since I had the engine running, so I thought it'd be a good chance to give it another 15-minute warm-up run, break-in run now, but because it's sat for a while, I just need to reprime the engine, pull some more fresh fuel through, so I've got the choke closed and the ignition is off. I've not even got it plugged in, so let's looking for some fuel coming through this tube here. Just starting to see the fuel come through this top tube now and fill up the carb. So I just had to resolder the XT30 for the Matex Systems UBEC Duo, and I soldered it the wrong way around, and I've just popped the UBEC Duo, so that stops play for today. I won't be able to restart this now. I don't have two UBECs that I would need to do this separately, so I'm going to order another one of these because I really like the system, and just want to say thanks so much for watching, thanks for supporting the channel, thanks to all those who follow on Instagram. If you don't, go and have a look there, lots of photos of the build and other things I'm getting up to, but thanks again for watching, take care and see you soon.